Alright, quick question. Did you just choose to watch this video? Or was that decision made for you before you even knew it? Because according to neuroscience, your brain may have already made that choice before you even realized it. So, if that's true, do we really have free will? Or is it just an illusion? Today we're diving into the science and philosophy of free will, what it means for our choices, our lives, and whether we're all just passengers on a predetermined ride. Let's find out if you're really in control, or if your brain's just playing tricks on you. So, you walk into a coffee shop, stare at the menu, then bam, you confidently order a caramel latte. Was that a totally free choice? Or was it inevitable? But before we go deep, let's answer the simple question, what is free will? At its core, free will is your ability to make a choice that isn't completely controlled by your brain, your environment, or the laws of physics. Basically, it means you're in the driver's seat of your decisions. You could have chosen differently, right? But not everyone agrees with that. For example, Immanuel Kant believed we need free will for morality to make sense. If you're going to be held responsible for your actions, you must have a choice. Others, like author Schopenhauer, famously noted, man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. He's basically saying, no, we don't choose our will, we just act on it. Think of it like baking a cake. You have the ingredients, but the final flavor might be influenced by the recipe, the oven temperature, and even a pinch of luck. In the same way, while you might feel like you're choosing freely, many factors are steering the mix behind the scenes. Now, let's talk about one of the most famous experiments in neuroscience, Benjamin Libet's study from the 1980s. In Libet's experiment, participants were asked to press a button at a moment of their choosing while their brain activity was recorded. Surprisingly, scientists observed a buildup of brain activity called the readiness potential up to 300 milliseconds before the participants reported the conscious decision to press the button. Since then, scientists have taken this even further. Some fMRI studies suggest that your brain decides what you'll do up to 10 seconds before you know it. This suggests that what we think of as free decision might actually be the end result of a process that started long before we notice it ourselves. This raises huge questions. If my brain is making choices before I do, am I really choosing? Well, some scientists argue that these studies don't actually disprove free will. They might just mean that decision-making starts unconsciously, but we still have the power to override our impulses. So maybe free will isn't about making any choice from scratch, but about having the ability to stop, reflect, and change our minds. But if our choices are made before we're even aware of them, what does that mean for morality, responsibility, and the choices we think we make? If we don't consciously choose our actions, then are we really responsible for them? Imagine a criminal in a court. If science says his brain made his decisions before he was aware of them, should he be held accountable? There have been real cases where lawyers have argued that neurological conditions cause their clients' actions. Some have even had reduced sentences because of it. But hold on. Just because our decisions begin unconsciously doesn't mean we're mindless robots. We still reflect, weigh consequences, and adjust behavior. Philosophers have tackled this for centuries. Here are 3 big schools of thought. First, determinism, or no free will. Everything is pre-decided, with Sam Harris as a notable thinker. This school of thought says every choice you make is an inevitable result of prior causes. If every domino is already falling, then our choices are just part of that chain. The domino effect. Second is compatibilism, or free will can still exist. We make choices, but within limits. With Daniel Dennett as a notable thinker, this school of thought says maybe free will doesn't mean absolute control. It just means making choices within a system of influences, like playing a game where you can choose moves, but only within the game's rules. Third is existentialism, or we create our own meaning. Free will as a mindset. With Jean-Paul Sartre as a notable thinker, this school of thought says even if the world is determined, we can still act as if we have freedom. Meaning comes from how we respond. Think of it like following a recipe. Even if you're following a set recipe, you still decide to cook that meal and enjoy it on your own terms. So, do we have free will, or is our brain just running on autopilot? The answer depends on how you define it. Okay, before you spiral into existential crisis, let's take a breath. Even if our choices start unconsciously, that doesn't mean life is meaningless. Think of it like playing your favorite video game. Even if the game's code determines the challenges you face, your experience, the strategies you develop, the emotions you feel, makes the game uniquely yours. Now, if decisions begin before we are aware, can we train our brains to make better ones? Maybe. Maybe we could try mindfulness and reflection. Studies show that simply being aware of unconscious biases can help override them. Or habit formation. Your brain builds patterns over time. If you set good habits, your unconscious decisions improve automatically. Or perhaps delaying impulses. Pausing before acting gives your conscious brain time to intervene. Here's the big takeaway. Whether or not free will technically exists, we still experience choice, responsibility, and change. Imagine a river. The water, your thoughts, flows in a certain direction, but you can still paddle and steer. Maybe free will isn't about being completely independent from cause and effect. Maybe it's about how we respond to the forces shaping us. So, what do you think? Are you the master of your fate, or is your brain pulling the strings? Drop a comment and let's debate, because whether or not you choose to, I already know some of you were gonna do it anyway. Watch this video next, I think you'll like it.